Welcome to day 5 of my 10-day bike trip series exploring the shores of Lake Huron and Lake Simcoe in Ontario, Canada. In this segment I'll be riding from Craigleith Provincial Park across the Sauble Falls Provincial Park at the bottom of the Bruce Peninsula. So today is Tuesday, July 24th, 2018, and I woke up at around 7 a.m. at my campsite. I have quite a bit of distance to cover today, and the weather forecast is predicting scattered thunder showers, so I want to get a nice early start on my ride and hopefully stay ahead of the weather. I quickly got everything packed up and was on the road by 8 a.m. After a short stretch riding along Highway 28, I turned onto Hidden Lake Road and joined the Georgian Trail heading west. Over on the left, this ski hill is called the Georgian Peaks Club. In addition to the Blue Mountain Ski Resort, which I rode past yesterday, there are several other ski resorts in close proximity which are built along the same hillside. This hillside is part of the Niagara Escarpment, and I'll be riding over it later this morning. The Georgian Trail I'm riding on follows the route of the former Northern Railway line. I'm now entering the small community of Thornbury. This bridge takes me across the Beaver River, which flows into Lake Huron. Thornbury has a nice historic downtown, and I decided to stop for a cooked breakfast at the Thornbury Bakery Cafe. First established in 1901, the restaurant has a very nice historic feel to it. One half of the building has the bakery and order counter, and the other has a seating area for customers. I decided to order the Eggs Benedict with home fries, which was really delicious. While I was eating, I also decided to try powering on my damaged smartphone. Unfortunately, the screen is now just displaying bright solid colors, so today will be another day where I won't be able to rely on having direct phone or internet contact with the outside world. After breakfast, I got back on my bike and headed out of Thornbury, where I rejoined the Georgian Trail. The time is just after 9 a.m. and the temperature is around 23 degrees Celsius. Over here on the left you can see more of the Niagara Escarpment. In Ontario, this land formation spans from Niagara Falls all the way up to the end of the Bruce Peninsula. But other than occasionally seeing the escarpment peeking through the trees, the scenery on this trail is becoming kind of repetitive, so I decided to take out my portable radio and see what I could find on the dial. I ended up finding a local radio station from Owen Sound, which is the next city I'll be riding through. On the broadcast they were interviewing one of the organizers for the Summer Folk Festival, which will be taking place in Owen Sound near the end of the summer. I've now entered the community of Meaford, which is part of the larger municipality which is also called Meaford. This bridge here takes me across the Bighead River and into the historic downtown of Meaford. This building on the corner here was built in 1908 and was the former town hall of Meaford. Sitting right next to it, built in 1887, this building is the Meaford Fire Hall. I also decided to ride down and have a quick look at the Meaford Harbor. This will be my last view of Georgian Bay until I get to Owen Sound, because I'll be taking an inland route to get there. The most direct route from Meaford to Owen Sound is to take Highway 26, but I always prefer to take quieter, more peaceful roads. From Meaford I headed west along a road called Nelson Street. You may be curious why I didn't continue following the shoreline to get to Owen Sound. Well, as it turns out, there's a large segment of land north of the community of Meaford, which is occupied by a military training facility, which makes a large section of the shoreline inaccessible to the general public. The road I'm on now is called Grey County Road 12, and even though I'm riding a fair distance away from the shoreline, this road is actually considered part of the Great Lakes Waterfront Trail, according to some signs I've seen. This crossroads here is known as Oxmead. I continued heading straight through it and the name of the road changes to Side Road 16. The temperature is now increased to 27 degrees Celsius and the humidity is also quite high. With the high humidity and all these clouds in the sky, I'm starting to feel like the rain might be starting pretty soon. I made a left turn when I reached the 11th line and headed south. Despite it being a grey cloudy day, I'm thoroughly enjoying the scenery on these roads. There's a really nice mixture of agriculture, forests, and hills. When I reached Side Road 10 I made a right turn and continued heading west. By some it's believed that cows will lie down in anticipation of rainfall. These cows are all still standing, so perhaps it isn't going to rain soon. This river I'm crossing here is called the Bighead River, which is the same river I crossed back in Meaford. As I was running up this hill I could feel the rain starting to fall, so I decided to seal my camera away. The rain didn't end up amounting to very much, and about 20 minutes later I was riding on dry roads again. Scattered showers like this can make the weather really unpredictable, because a lot comes down to you being in the right place at the right time. I'm still riding west and the name of the road has changed to Grey County Road 18. I'm just approaching Rockford where I'll cross Highway 6, which is the main road into Owen Sound. This here is the Sydenham River. Right after this I turned onto a quiet road called Inglis Falls, which follows the path of the river towards Owen Sound. As the name of the road suggests, there's a waterfall along it, so I decided to go and check it out. Upstream of the falls the water is flat and calm. The top of the falls is where the English grist mill once stood. Because we're just at the edge of the Niagara Escarpment, the Sydenham River takes a really significant elevation drop here. I decided to hike down the trail to get a better look at it. With a height of 18 meters, it's certainly not the largest waterfall I've ever seen, but it's a really beautiful one and was certainly worth stopping to see. These are the millstones from the grist mill which was once operated here. So after that stop, I got back on my bike and continued riding down the hill towards Owen Sound. Since crossing Highway 6, I was in the township of Georgian Bluffs, but now I've just entered the city of Owen Sound. Owen Sound has a population of about 21,000. Here I'm once again crossing over the Sydenham River. Owen Sound was once a very significant shipping port. Being a shipping town with sailors always coming and going, it was also known for its taverns and brothels, which gave it a rowdy reputation. There was once an intersection in Owen Sound locally known as Damnation Corners because it had taverns on all four corners. Interestingly, this was located a block away from Salvation Corners, which had churches on all four corners. Down at the mouth of the Sydenham River, this is Owen Sound's harbor. With these blue skies, the weather has really changed a lot since 2 hours ago when I got rained on. Growing up in Ontario as a child, I knew there were towns called Owen Sound and Parry Sound. For some reason, I made the assumption that Owen and Parry were brothers with the last name Sound, and they were both lucky enough to have towns named after them. As it turns out, in geography, the word sound is defined as a large sea or ocean inlet, larger than a bay, deeper than a bight, and wider than a fjord. This is actually my second time visiting Owen Sound by bike. Back in 2014, I did a 6-day bike trip from Toronto to Tobermory and back. I didn't film any videos on that trip, but I did take photos, and I've always thought about posting a video sharing my stories from that trip. The time is now almost 1 p.m, so I headed back to the downtown streets to choose a place to have lunch. Although Owen Sound has a pretty big downtown, I actually had a hard time finding a suitable restaurant. I eventually decided on a place called Ceviche's Global Cuisine, which ended up being a great choice. The staff were very friendly and generous, and the decor was unique and interesting. I ordered the lunch curry special, which was really delicious. I chose a nice table near the front window, and while I was eating I could see the Owen Sound Artists Co-Op across the street, where there was a woman doing a painting in the front window. As I was unlocking my bike, a local man stopped to talk to me. He had lots of questions about my recumbent bike and wanted to know more about my trip. While we were talking, it suddenly started raining again, so I quickly got back on my bike and headed over to the Metro grocery store. I parked my bike under a dry roof canopy and did some shopping while the rain significantly started to pick up. Given the scattered nature of the rainfall today, I decided to wait it out, and about 20 minutes later the rain had almost completely stopped, so I proceeded. I left the city along 14th Street West and had this big hill to climb. I essentially have to regain all of the altitude that I lost when I rode down that big hill into Owen Sound. This road is eventually renamed to Derby Keppel Town Line, and I'm back in the township of Georgian Bluffs. I turned onto Highway 6, which unfortunately doesn't have a paved shoulder despite the fact that it's very busy and was just recently repaved. This road makes a nice diagonal between Owen Sound and Sauble Falls, but I planned my route to minimize my time spent on this road. Essentially, right after getting onto this highway, the rain started up again and was very heavy for my entire 5-kilometer span of this road. However, when I reached Ledgerock Road, the rain had basically stopped and I was on a nice quiet road again. The road surface here is actually a paved road which has had loose gravel placed over top of it as part of some kind of surface treatment which is currently underway. After rounding the curve, this road became Concession Road 3, and I had a nice hill to ride down. Notice that the road here is completely dry, having experienced none of those heavy showers I was riding through only about 15 minutes ago. On this kind of day, the weather can be so different from one spot to another. I made a right turn onto Side Road 5, which eventually curves around and becomes Concession Road 5. After crossing County Road 10, I've now left Grey County and entered Bruce County. This small community here is called Parkhead. Shortly after that, Parkhead Road turns to gravel. I'm still enjoying listening to the same Owen Sound radio station that I found this morning. It's an oldies radio station, and this afternoon they're focusing in on the top songs of 1962. That river I just crossed is the Sauble River, which flows up to Sauble Falls, which is where I'll be camping tonight. I made a right turn and headed north when I got to Allenford Road. Looking towards the west, the skies look blue and clear, but over to the east they're still looking dark and gray. Thankfully I'm headed to the west, so hopefully I've left most of the rainy weather behind me. Did you notice that bug that just hit me in the forehead? Here it is in slow motion. When I reached Silver Lake Road, I made a left turn and continued west. The time is now around 4:15 p.m. and I don't have too much further to ride to my destination. When I reached Bruce County Road 14, I turned right and continued riding north. The agriculture on this road seems to be dominated by sod farms. Nestled among them is the Sauble Speedway racetrack. After crossing Bruce County Road 8, the road changes to gravel and is renamed Side Road 15. There were alternate routes I could have taken which would have avoided this gravel, but it would have meant riding on some of the same roads I'll be riding on tomorrow morning. This here is the Sauble River again, which I'll be crossing one more time before I arrive at my campground. This here looks like it's probably a Christmas tree farm. After crossing Spring Creek Road, I'm riding on pavement again. I'm thoroughly enjoying this rural scenery I've been riding through today. When I got to Rankin Bridge Road, I turned left and continued riding west. It took me around a curve and into a deep forest on a very bumpy gravel road. This is certainly not the route that most people take to get to Sauble Falls, but I've always preferred the road less traveled. Eventually I reached the Sauble Falls Parkway where I turned left. So here I'm crossing the Sauble River one final time today, and Sauble Falls are just down the river from here. From this angle they don't look like much, but after I've gotten settled at my campsite I'm hoping to come back and check them out. Sauble Falls is another point that I crossed back in 2014 on the bike trip that I did to Tobermory and back. The main reason that I decided not to go any further north than here on my current trip is because I already covered the Bruce Peninsula on that trip. Sauble Falls Provincial Park is directly adjacent to here, and I proceeded to the park's main entrance. I purchased a camping permit from the gatehouse and then proceeded back in the direction where I came from. Sauble Falls has an east and west campground, and the campsite I chose is in the east campground. I arrived at the campground at around 5:30 and feeling pretty hungry I decided to eat an early dinner. Afterwards I set up my clothesline to hopefully help some of my wet stuff from Sunday continue drying out. It's been so humid lately that nothing's really been drying. After I pitched my tent I got back on my bike and headed back towards the waterfall. While I was setting up camp, this park employee was running a gas-powered power washer for a really long time, and it was really loud even 100 meters away at my campsite. I crossed back over to the west side of the road and proceeded down the path to the waterfall. There are lots of people out enjoying playing in the water and exploring the different levels of the waterfall. When viewing it from this angle, you get a greater appreciation of the beauty of this waterfall. It's neat how the different layers are uniform in height, making it kind of look like stairs. After exploring around for a while, I decided it was time to go for a swim, so I jumped in. The water feels significantly warmer than where I swam yesterday. Back at the campsite, I decided to have some s'mores for dessert, now that I'm no longer in a region where there's a fire ban in effect. Since I'm hoping to get on the road relatively early tomorrow morning, I'm going to try and get to sleep pretty early tonight. So today I traveled a total of 113 kilometers from Craigleith Provincial Park to Sauble Falls Provincial Park. Stay tuned for the next installment in this video series, where tomorrow I'll ride south along the shoreline of Lake Huron to a town called Kincardine, where I'll stay with some family members for the night. I hope you enjoyed joining me on this leg of the journey. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought, and thanks for watching.